I hate post-bound albums. They are ridiculous. They are so hard to get to stay how they're supposed to. They're the worst. I would never in a million years recommend this. Okay, but we can go back. Man, this is really going back to the 80s. Here's me. By the way, I know there's a glare on here. I don't feel like taking everything out of the sleeves. So you can see big picture, a couple of random stickers, writing on construction paper in bubble letters, no less. Yeah, that was a thing. Okay, again, construction paper, sticking in a letter, having some really unfortunate photos, just a loose photo, some random sheet music there. I've got a coin. Oh, that was a coin from band. Wow, how funny. When were tryouts going to be for the band? This, I have an insert in here that covers up my photo. Like, that's not great. And so you can just see how my style has changed. Look at these. Again, I have stuff over here, but cutting up original photos. Don't cut up original photos. Let me see if I can take this out and show y'all. Oh no, it's even better. It's stuck in there over a picture. Okay. It's a different time now that we can print just endless photos digitally, and we can go back and edit them. I mean, heck, you can have AI whoop you up a photo if you don't have one. So back in the day, I mean, these are originals, and I sliced them up, and I shouldn't have done that, because now I'll never know what else was happening there. And some of the funniest parts of pictures, I think, are seeing what else is happening in the photo, not just the part I cropped out. So please don't ever crop original photos. I saw somebody doing this at a retreat one time who was cutting up her parents' wedding photos, and that would have been from, I think, the 50s or 60s. Oh my gosh, that was not good. But you can see, okay, oh, look at this. I'm experimenting with a mat. We all know that newspapers have acid in them. I know there is a newspaper spray. You can use an archival spray, which will sort of de-acidify the paper. I didn't use that. And maybe I should. I was never one of those super militant people on acid-free stuff, but we know newspapers are problematic. By the way, how cute is this little red dress my mom made for me? Hi, Mom. It was a darling red taffeta bubble dress. Oh my gosh, that was so fantastic. Oh, look at me. Cut up original pictures. Oh, let's see. Oh, way before TOS or TEKS or whatever they have now, the STAR test. It was teams. Okay, great. My team scores. I passed everyone. Oh, let's see. Oh, I dated this guy. He was so cute. He was the mascot. So you'll just see I had, different style back then. Blah, blah. Oh, Mom made that dress too. Super cute. And that's it. And when the album ended, look how I have this reference. See Tyann's senior year scrapbook for more high school memories. Okay, so this was freshman through junior year. My mom made that cute dress too. Man, she had it going on. Okay, so you can see the style. Post-bound, very, very girlish. My senior year, it's a different one. I have stuff, a lot of memorabilia and such in that. But let me show you these two as well. This was one I didn't make at the time, but I did go back and make it again with a very, I will just say less mature format than I've got now. But again, part of that, you'll see the random disconnected embellishments and stickers. I shapey scissor cut an original photo. That's one of our jokes now with my mom and I. It's like, are you gonna get out the shapey scissors? You gonna cut me up? But I was kind of impressed that I hung on to some of this stuff from when I was a kid. Look at this little diploma. I graduated from the first day of first grade. Isn't that cute? Shapy scissors again on original photos. Lots of shapy scissors. I twirled the ton for a while. Isn't that fun? A trip. Oh, look at me. I was trying something. I drew in with a paint pen a road. Shapy scissors, disconnected elements. So again, is any of this terrible? No. And it's kind of funny to look back on. Doesn't make me feel bad. It's just that is not my style. That's not my style today. But I can look back on it and say, maybe because I was there, I'm now here. Okay. Oh, look at that. That's when I wanted a Pat Benatar hairdo. Yeah, I'm not sure how great that worked out. But this one, even when it ended, I was like, okay, it just ends. And there's, extra sheets that I didn't do anything with. So that's something you can see as well. This is a spiral bound album. One thing to always guard against with spiral bound is you have to be pretty exact on the number of pages you're going to have. If you have extra blank pages like I did, you could just rip them out. But if you're trying to do a certain event and you run out of pages, there's no good way to insert new ones. So that's something I would never use this kind of album now, but I have it. Because I know we probably all have one of these kicking around in the back room, grandma's closet. This is the old magnetic sticky album. How fun. Look, I attached my luggage tag. I had a summer trip to Europe as I was going into my senior year. Look, I was very naughty. I stole the hotel key because I thought, how clever is that? So this is the old magnetic album. And in case you don't know, although I don't know how you wouldn't, in case you don't know, magnetic albums are acidic, and that's why they turn yellow around the edges. Your stuff will end up getting permanently adhered, so if you try to get it off later, it will pretty much destroy it. So I would never, ever, ever in a million years recommend these anymore, and you can still find them. But you can see, again, I made this one at the time. So this was back in this was 1990, yeah. So photos, luckily I haven't shapy scissored these, but I've got some stamps in there. I did the whole ransom letter, cut out the letters. Let's see, what else? It's a T-Rex, but I called it a Tyrannosaurus because I thought that was funny. Some receipts. Let's see. And it just goes through. I've got some postcards stuck there. So yeah, I wasn't cutting anything out, luckily, because again, these are all originals. But I did stuff like this where I'm not sure why this stuff, I think because wherever we went for food, we got tons of potatoes, chicken and french fries, and no beef to be seen. And that was it. So this book, yeah, when I got to the end, I have my flight home, and then I did insert a sheet protector so I could put some stuff in there. And then this was my we had to make these, a folder with all of our facts. Isn't that great? Okay, so that's the magnetic album that I did, and you can see again how you'll be able to see how my technique has shifted, but I would not go back and redo these. They are charming for the time. All right, this one I'm going to show you. How professional is that? This is 2001 and 2002. I will say this was not the original album that I used. I transferred everything into this album because I think I had some faux pleather albums that just like disintegrated. So that's something you kind of have to think about too, is however you're storing these things, this is where people kind of get upset. They're like, oh, you can't store pictures in attics or basements, or, it's too hot, has to be temperature controlled. I'll just say, I'm a real person in the real world. Sometimes things get stuck in attics. And, sometimes I've never had a picture destroyed because it was in the hot attic, but I have had binders just sort of disintegrate. However, so there was a time I really liked these kinds of binders, but I don't like them now because they are huge. They take up even more room, and they're heavy in the binder itself. Okay, this was 2001. We have kind of a random sheet of paper, and then you'll hear me talk as we go through other layouts. These are called disconnected elements. They become orphans on your page, these little random stickers, and they're floating around. There's nothing to anchor them to. And in fact, this wasn't even straight. So, it is what it is. Let's see if I can move this down a little bit. Okay. Grandma's birthday. Wow, I have a lot going on here for Grandma's birthday. First, there's a lot going on this background sheet. If I were to do this today, I would never just use a busy background sheet like this in its entirety. And then I added some stickers. Look, I used Shapey scissors, and I put a sticker party hat on Grandma. That kind of crazy. I cut up original photos, again, more party hats, a little construction paper journaling. It's just one of those things. It is what it is. This one, again, we have the pattern background paper with nothing to balance it out. I stenciled on Happy Easter, trying to be clever, disconnected bunnies, and Shapey scissors. Okay, so here we start seeing, I'm trying to do some new things. So I was trying to create kind of a tree background because Mom and I were standing under her wisteria, which was beautiful, but I still have disconnected elements, although I see I'm trying. And by the way, this is regular construction paper. I don't even think this is scrapbook paper. Regular construction paper has acid too, and is not great long term. So you can see on this title page, I still did the stencil. I've always been big on, clearly as you've seen, big on, memorabilia or ephemera in my albums. So you'll see a lot of, I love me a good ticket stub. You'll see a lot of that. Sometimes I think things with prices are interesting because as we go back later, I don't know what their admission costs are now, but I can guarantee you it's more than $5, and you can see some inflation stuff. So on this background, you can see I pieced together an American flag. So look at me. But again, it's made out of just regular construction paper. Okay, stencil title. This one, I cut this out and pieced it together, and we've got a lot of little elements, disconnected birds, postcards. This one I matted. So you start to see some, I hate to call it sophisticated because this is very much not, but I will just say in the evolution of my scrapping, you start to see some, some work towards something that is a little bit more sophisticated. Disconnected, still with the Shapey scissor background and the stenciled title, busy background paper. Same here, we got a wrapper. This one I remember, it was the busy background cobblestone paper, and then I remember cutting out this road and thinking I was so clever. Here we have a die cut. I made the street sign. Alcatraz, oh, look at this. I put construction paper stripes on a white background, and I can tell because of how my cuts came through that I needed a different trimmer. I should have, that was a dull blade. I know that now. I didn't know that then. Okay, so experimenting here with some shapes, but you get the idea. Again, corner punches, more stuff, I'm trying. Kima Boardwalk, that was fun. Does anyone had a Tookie Burger? Those are delicious. So just showing, how do we do this when early days. This was one of those photos that a person that we're not going to mention was over here. Great, just sliced him out. It was great that he was on the end. Okay, let me show you something where, again, do you ever redo layouts? Oh, by the way, I always love putting money in my layouts. I think that's fun. Okay, this was a trip to Atlantis in the Bahamas, and I am going to show you, I went back and redid one layout. you'll notice typically, or especially as we go on, I like, again, 12 by 12 D-ring style binder with a coordinating left and right page. So you can see how these were all not coordinated. It works better for my brain. It looks better to my eye. So this had been a stingray layout that had this same paper. It was not great. I'll show you in a clip. I can stick that in. But later, I came across a one-page layout on stingrays. This is from the whole kit and caboodle, and this is Andrea Meyer is their design person. And you know, I've used a number of their kits. She's pretty big into sort of the paper piecing, you know, putting together these different elements. And that's fine for a little bit. I don't love doing that, you know, forever. But it was only a one-page layout. And I remember thinking, I like the layout. It's just, you know, what would I do? And I thought, you know, it was cute. I went back and just undid with undo the photos that were mounted on the other page and just stuck them down here so I could use this one-page stingray. That is really one of the only exceptions when I have gone back to redo anything. Again, I'll take you out if you're not part of my life, but generally just looking at this and saying, oh, I don't like the way it looks. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it. This is an example of some journaling when I was printing it out, you know, typing it up, printing it out, cutting it, you know, matting it in here. Again, in the words of my kiddo, ain't nobody got time for that. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to do that. And it takes me away from being in the moment with my book, because then I have to stop, go to the printer, or, you know, go to the computer, make it, go to the printer. The printer is always messed up. Y'all know how it is. Okay, you see here, I've still got busy background paper, but I'm experimenting with matting and different ways you can do that. Like this, I printed on green cardstock and then cut it out in the shape of a reindeer. So you can just see as I've gone along. Again, I remember when I made this layout, and man, I thought this was the coolest thing. I did these letters on a Sizzix, like the old school OG Sizzix. Anybody remember that? And then this was that fun, wasn't vellum, what was that? Like rag paper or something? You could get it wet and pull it apart, and it had these fibers. And I just thought this was, man, I was cooking with grease there because I had the Sizzix. So when you get the Sizzix, y'all remember everything, all of your letters then became Sizzix letters. So I think you'll see that throughout. Yeah. Okay, let me show you a couple things then. That was 2001. So in 2002, this was one of the first retreats that my mom and I started going to. And we met some great friends. And I think it was really when we started going to retreats that we started seeing different styles and different things you could do. I remember being at this retreat and we met this wonderful woman, Pam. Hi, Pam. And she had a Zag cart. Y'all, let me see if I can find a picture and stick it in. A Zag cart was something you bought at, I think we got ours at Walmart. So Mom and I remember we left the retreat. This was in Salado. And we drove to Temple because that's where the Walmart was. And we ran back to their hardware section and they had 2 Zag carts and we bought them. So that's just like a tool chest, you know, that your husband would use. And man, we used those Zag carts for quite a while. Okay, my funny story about the Zag cart. We went to, it might have been that retreat in Arlington, the Great American Scrapbook Convention. And I was carrying in my Zag cart because we were doing a crop there. And I thought, gosh, this thing is just so hard to maneuver. And then I looked back, one of the wheels had shot off and was racing across the parking lot. Like it was gone. I thought, well, geez, no wonder. Okay, look at this cute little picture, me with construction paper with my Sizzix. Oh my goodness. And look, I'm working on that Nakalele blowhole. Okay, this was an actual CM party at my friend Kyla's. Isn't that cute? And I loved that wreath so much. I had Kyla's mom get me one too. So we can start to see, again, a little more sophistication with some die cuts, with some double matting. Okay, gosh, I used to love this line. If anyone remembers what this line is, please tell me. This was interesting. It was printing on vellum, which if you printed on vellum, especially with an inkjet printer, you know, it just smudges to no end and apparently fades like crazy, and then attached with brads. So that was kind of a big deal. And we actually went on a scrapbook tour, which isn't that funny? And we went on one in, I think in Houston. I think we did one in maybe in Austin, maybe in San Antonio too, where you get on a bus in the morning and then you tour. This was our good friend Teresa that we met at one of those big convention crops. Okay, so we can start to see a little bit more. Now we've got, you know, again, we've got some repeating elements, but here we were trying with some vellum tearing. Y'all remember tearing? Apparently it's making a comeback. This was a shaker that we made. It must have been a make and take. And look, I put some ribbon in here. Okay, this is going to be funny. Tyann's 29th birthday at the Scrapbook Cupboard in Austin. Since Scrapbook Cupboard doesn't exist anymore, I love having this photo, and they were such a great scrapbook store. Okay, this was one of those wildlife drive-through safari things. Look at this, and I had some decorative twine in there. Okay, this I think was back when some of the big design scrappers were trying different things from the hardware store. This was drywall tape, y'all, which so I'm sure it's not acid-free. And this was a piece of torn vellum. This was some fibers when that got to be a big deal. I had a button on there. So you can just see the evolution. This was not a double page layout, obviously, which again is a little unique for me, but I think the reason I did that was because I only had one page of this Lego paper. And this was interesting. It was when Austin got a bat stamp, or the post office released a bat stamp, and the bat is the mascot of the animal of Austin. And so you could go down there and help them make this huge bat stamp in Legos. So you would go down there and you would get assigned a little vector, and you could do that. I thought that was great. Here we see some fringe on here, which is a thing too. Again, we've got torn and inked, and then we've got a tag. Tags became so big, and so they were so cute and clever, and a way to get a lot on one thing. And so always love tags. We've got some dangling letters. We've got more of that fiber paper, whatever that's called. Ooh, look, I popped something up. That might have been my first time in actually doing a pop dot. Did it there and there. Okay. This was a trip to India for work, and so I found this really neat paper that I loved. Multiple pages for India. I always thought this was very pretty the way I did that title, but again, that was printing on vellum. This was adhering stones with glue dots, and again, tearing. So you start to see some dimension in my pages. I got super crazy, y'all, with dimensional elements, and I will show you that in another section, because it got so big that it got really difficult for my books to close. So just something to think about when you have a dimensional element is this actually practical or not?